The 7-on-7 tournament held by the Sevens was awesome, and the recruiting intel is even better.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Today is going to be an update of all the information that I got. And basically, it was an awesome tournament. I had heard that it was. I did not go to the Sevens tournament last year. It's held in Atlanta, Georgia. Really, really fun. I enjoyed it. But I'm curious if anybody else is going to have something like this arrival. It's a different measurement. It's not as provocative as like OT7, et cetera. And it's not as big in terms of volume, such as a battle. It's all high-end stakes. I thought they did a great job, and I really enjoyed it. So first off, shout out to Sevens. But let's just dive into the recruiting. There is no point here, anything I'm trying to make. It's just straight up a list of players that I either saw, had impressions of, recruiting scoop, or both. So no particular order. I do work with Coastline, so I'm going to talk about some of those kids, but there are other players too. And first off, it was my opportunity to see Maddox Porter for the first time. He may end up being the #1 player in the class of 29. Really polished receiver for a young man. He's got burst. He knows when to settle down in the zone. He knows when to throttle up and go by somebody. Very well schooled when it comes to how to compete with 50-50 balls. That is a future NFL player. He had an insane freshman year, had over 20 touchdowns. That's insane to me. Franklin Road Academy, just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Great kid, too. I think that everybody should know about him. I didn't even ask him about recruiting. He's going to have a gazillion offers. I know Tennessee, among others, have. If you do not know who Maddox Porter is, you very well soon will. Just want to get him out. Everybody else here is class of 2027. First off, my guy, Jamarin Simmons, I did not know that Jamarin Simmons could play safety. Maybe not even sure what else he played besides receiver because he's so good at it. Why would you really waste your time with anything else? But we put him in the game at safety, and he had one of the best plays I've seen all year. So give a shout out to Jamarin. He's got offers from everybody too, but versatility sells. And because of the way that his film's going to show up and it's going to circulate the internet, the clips, it'll probably escalate his ranking. It'll probably give him a little more props from college coaches. I'm sure some of them have either texted him or will call him in some way, shape, or form, or communicate. He had a pick in a playoff scenario for us. It was great against Aaron Donald's team, and that was just rain. I didn't even know he was in the game because he never plays safety. But far as recruiting goes, Georgia's involved, Florida State, Miami, Clemson's the perceived leader. They've got the most time with him away from the Tallahassee area. And by the way, he lives 6 minutes from Florida State's campus from what he's told me. But I still think this is a pretty open recruitment. I believe Tennessee is a school he mentioned to me. I'm not sure this is going to be a quick one. I think it'll probably go into the fall. But Jamarin Simmons is him. He is a top 50 recruit. I do not care what anybody else says. Flat out, Jamarin Simmons is a top 50 kid. And I was educated. I knew he could play receiver. But now I know he might just be as good, if not better, at safety because his anticipation is tremendous. If he concentrated just on playing defender, I don't care if it's nickel, safety, corner, because he's got the burst to play any of them. He was just a defender. I don't want to label him at any one spot in the secondary. He could probably play multiple. He'd figure it out. This is one of the more instinctive players in the country, so shout out to him. Julius Jones Jr., I've gotten to know him quite well over the last year or so. Plays at one of my favorite programs in the country in St. Thomas Aquinas, down there with Roger and those guys. He's got some extra muscle on him. I was joking with him. He looks like he's gained some weight. He put on 5 pounds. His arms got bigger. His legs got bigger, and he's still got that same burst. Elite player. That just continues to be the case. He's very competitive. When I asked him about schools, no particular order, Oregon, Miami, Notre Dame are kind of there at the top with Those are 3 schools he's going to visit for sure for OBs, but he still has a plethora of other programs coming after him, Florida State, Florida, etc. He's not worried about recruiting, but he is starting to get into that mix. And I thought it was interesting that he gave me those 3. Again, there's no particular order here that I'm going to signal out. We didn't go deep into the conversation, but Oregon, Miami, and Notre Dame. Of course, his dad is Jewish and senior. He played for the Irish before, playing for the Cowboys, Seahawks, and the Saints. Next, and again, there's no particular order here. I had the opportunity to watch Nick Lanier again. He's a guy that still needs to continue learning his craft and all that, but I didn't even try to interview him. I know it's USC and Miami at the top. I can see why, just from watching afar, why people like him because of his burst and his change of direction. I think his recruitment, kind of like Jamarin, they're very similar. Him and Jamarin are about the same player in terms of style. I would imagine that Nick is going to be a guy that is going to continue to climb the ladder too. I think him and Jamarin are honestly 5-star recruits, but seeing him again is just a reminder. I didn't even try to interview him. Peter Bork, this is a kid that I'd never met, quarterback out of the Northeast. Big kid. I didn't realize he was that big. A lot of times we see measurements and they're garbage. When I stood next to him, I said, you got to be at least 6'4". He goes 6'4.5". And I said, that kind of measures to what I thought. He's got an unusual list, though. Virginia Tech and Penn State aren't surprising. He was previously committed to Michigan. New staff's going to run the quarterback more, and that's not a fit for him. He's a true old-school quarterback that can move, but he's a pocket quarterback. The other school was Georgia. That was his 3rd school that he mentioned. We talked quite a bit about Tech, quite a bit about Penn State. He's getting to know those staffs. He's doing well with both. But Georgia's kind of the outlier and the oddball here. I don't know if he's serious about him, but that's the 3rd school that he brought up to me. And I thought that was a pretty interesting piece of intel. Next up, I just want to mention Jake Narot. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Just heard him a little bit this weekend and saw his name when I got back home. For those that don't know, like just mentioned with Bork, Georgia's kind of an unusual kid or player in this recruitment, and he's from the Northeast. Well, Narot's got schools down south going after him. He's a Chicago kid. It's just a note. There's more consistency with this. Israel Abrams is another Chicago kid. With quarterback, everybody recruits everybody. What do I mean by that? Like Notre Dame and Ohio State have always kind of recruited nationally. That's one thing. But now even Georgia, who used to never really do it, and Florida was the worst. They hardly ever did. They're recruiting up north. They're recruiting in the east. They're recruiting in the west. Everybody recruits nationally, especially at quarterback. So if your school ends up with a player like Narot, he's a really good quarterback, do not be shocked, even if it's 1,000 miles away. He originally had a bunch of like Big Ten offers and, of course, the MAC schools. But now his offer list is gone a little bit different. Florida State recently offered him. He's Chicago. Again, he's the greater Chicagoland area. It's just a reminder. Andre Adams, heard his name a little bit this weekend. NPA was there. He wasn't with NPA. But he was really, really good. Really good. When I watched him on film, that's another guy that can go national. But he's in the middle of the country, and it's a little more convenient. I keep hearing his name. I like him a lot. I know Auburn likes him. Florida State likes him. I think that's a kid that's going to be a very good college player. Doesn't probably get the recognition he deserves, but here's a key stat. 35 touchdowns, 1 pick last year. That's a really good trade. Next up, Keon Standifer, another kid who plays with us with Coastline. Spoke to him a little bit. He's going to take his OV the same weekend Jamarin is to Florida State, the first weekend in June. He told me Georgia Tech's the first school he mentioned to me. Of course, that's his hometown. He lives just outside of Atlanta. I'm not sure where he's going. I know Tennessee's involved and several other programs. I know Wisconsin was involved at one point, but the receiver coach went on to the National Football League. We'll see, but he's a really good player, and he's one of the best slots in the country, and he makes a lot of guys look stupid. I've got a great clip of him from this weekend where he made some guys look dumb. And to be honest with you, I've gotten used to Keon making people look stupid, but this one even made me kind of tilt my head back because it was maybe the best move I've seen him make this year. I expect Keon Standifer's list to continue to grow. Really good football player. Lastly, another kid for us, Loa Valladay. His offer list has kind of steadily went up, if you will. He's transferred to Knoxville Catholic. He's a corner/athlete. He's just put together. Florida State, Kentucky, Indiana, like Tennessee's in on him. Obviously, he lives in Knoxville, so that's not very far away. There are several schools like that. Florida's involved, and he's just curious about everybody, but he wants to play early. If he goes to a school like Kentucky, do not be shocked. He wants to get on the field right away, and we'll see where that goes. But very competitive kid and just wants to learn. Great guy to be around. Anybody is open on this one, and anybody that's offered now or still gets involved, he's the kind of young man that will take that phone call and assess his options. I highly recommend anybody recruiting Valladay. He's just a good dude. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about another quarterback that has reclassed, Champ Mons, and I also want to go over what's going on in the chat and just talk about the recruiting classes in general. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show was brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. The big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From the early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoop parlay you want. Doesn't matter. In conference, out of conference, rivalry game, top of the board in terms of rankings, it really doesn't matter. It is completely up to you. You can make spreads, totals, player props, or anything else that you want to match it up. You can go through and do all that, but whatever you want, go with your gut, go with the stats. It's up to you. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following this season. It's your parlay. Do it your way. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. We're also brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need to be right there and get the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your job post. And here's a great stat that kind of puts it into perspective. In roughly the minute I'm going to be speaking here, 27 hires on average are made by Indeed, according to their data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing people with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show, you can get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just head to Indeed.com/podcast. Support our show by saying you heard about us right here with Indeed. Now, Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Make sure you take your game to the next level with the Everydayer Club. Down below in the description, we'll give you more details. But here's the number one thing about the Everydayer Club: $5 a month or $50 for the year. No ads on your audio feed with our entire network, but just for this show or any other, whichever one you want to pick, $5 a month. That's it. And down below in that description, there is information about our Discord. It's very simple. All the fans from around the country, whatever you want to do to check it out, make sure you check out the Discord as well. All right. I want to mention the situation with Champ Mons to kind of add on to the quarterback stuff that I talked about in the last part of the show. He's a class of 28 player that reclassed to 28, very physically gifted. When I was talking earlier about, hey, kids from Chicago, like looking at Florida State, like Israel Abrams going to visit Florida State. He's looking at Miami. Chicago kid. Jake Melrod just got an offer from Florida State. They're probably going to make an effort to get after him. There is no distance factor anymore in general in college football, but with quarterbacks, it has just gone into an exponential level. I'm not sure where Champ's going to go, but like Ohio State and Notre Dame at different junctures in the last 6 months have like really prioritized. I think Notre Dame even more so right now. I'm not sure with Ohio State, but the Florida schools are still after him, and his list is growing. We're going to see a run on quarterback soon. Let's see where it goes with one of the more physically gifted players in the class of 27. But again, he's a reclass. Champ Mons is going to skip his junior year, go into his senior this fall. If he does well with his visits this spring and he shows the kind of maturity and he talks with the coaches and everything goes well and he throws well when he goes to these different places, I could see his offer list going up, and I could see his recruiting ranking also increasing. I don't know if it'll be Notre Dame or Texas A&M. I have no idea where he's going to go. But this is the wild card. Once people physically see him like I have, like throw in front of them, there won't be very many that don't like him, and some may move him up the list. It can change things. There could be kids decommit, and you're like, I wonder what it is. Oh, they just offered Champ Mons. Don't be surprised by that. He is one of the most physically gifted kids, regardless of position. And despite the fact that he reclassed in this current recruiting cycle. Very, very good football player. I've probably missed somebody. If I did, if anybody wants to throw it out there that I said I was going to post about, I'm trying to think if there's anybody. Oh, Deshaun Hall, I need to talk about him too. Before I forget, he's another kid. This is a good one. God only made so many 6'5" wide receivers. He is from Prattville High School, just outside of Montgomery. Holy cow, is that kid athletic. He played with us this weekend at Coastline. I've got a clip of him I've got to edit and put up, taking it off somebody's head. Really, really athletic guy. I don't think there are very many people that realize that he's really that tall. And he's a heck of a basketball player, too. He's one of the best, if not the best, prep hooper in the Yellowhammer State. Auburn and Tennessee are recruiting him to play both, if it puts it in perspective. If you're an SEC level player at either hoops or football, you're really good. He's still got some things to work on, like everybody else on this receiver list I talked about today. But the measurables are there. Great kid, very down to earth. I love the upside for Deshaun Hall, and I think that whoever gets him is getting the steal. So I'm not sure where he's going. Florida is a school that he's pretty interested in. The coach that was at Auburn's down at UF now. Do not be surprised if he ends up with the Gators, but a long way to go with him. And 6'5" receivers again. They just don't grow on trees. What's going on, Salty Man? How you doing? Is Notre Dame interested in Simmons? I don't know. I know Teddy Gerard has told Notre Dame to recruit him. I know Teddy told me that yesterday, unsolicited. He's unbelievable, but I don't know if Notre Dame will go after him or not. They should. He's a top 50 kid. There's no doubt about that. Salty, what is your typical routine when you attend a battle event? It doesn't matter which 7-on-7 event it is. But like I'm traveling with Coastline, so I'm obviously at their games. You walk around and you talk to all the people that you know, interview a few kids, get scoop from 7-on-7 coaches, parents, some of the recruits, and most importantly, just make sure that the other recruiting analysts that I speak with, there's nothing I missed or something that like just got posted. We all inform each other, but it is just a constant information battle. I had a long conversation yesterday with a coach / 7-on-7 guy who works with Cam Newton's program about a player we're trying to help out. That had really nothing to do with the tournament. But there's always something about young guys coming up. Hey, this kid's going to commit. I learned about a kid that's going to commit to Auburn sometime somewhat fairly soon. His date's down the road, but he already knows where he's going. There's all kinds of things that are like that at these tournaments. Got to have your head on a swivel. I've been in the industry long enough. Somebody's walking by from any team. There's a player from every program that I know, and they change program, like who works with who. So it's just a lot of information swapping more than anything else. And then, of course, evaluations. But there's no specific pattern. It's just who's standing where when you walk in. That's really it. Katie, off topic, but Haynes King had a very good combine, blazing fast 40, and threw surprisingly well. He's the kind of guy you root for. He was really highly recruited, but he just got beat up in college. Good for Haynes. Katie, and Cincinnati is suing Brendan Swords, but yeah, I'm guessing that'll come to a head pretty quick. He's going to have to pay it. He owes $1 million, if I remember correctly, based on his buyout if he left. He's already passed due on his time. He's going to have to pay it. What is the benefit of reclassifying to skip a year? Getting to the money. Getting to the money. Remember, this football. You get hurt, your chances of getting the money are less. It's getting at least that one guaranteed check that's big that can at least somewhat change your life, like buy a house. Look at it this way. If you never had to make a house payment and you had a 4-3 that you and your family could live on, you never had to make a payment, would that have helped you? That's what these kids are looking for. Can't say I blame them. Katie, to me, height, hands, and intelligence are my key receiver attributes. Those are important, but for me, the other one is just the common sense part. Like I talked with Maddox Porter earlier, the wide receiver, he's just an incredibly young, talented player. And I told him, I said, you know when to sit down and zone, you know when to throttle down to like stay between defenders. You've been coached, but you've accepted it. As long as you keep on that path, that's where the money's at. That's what I told him. There are a lot of guys that are fast, they're big. Understanding concepts is now, it's not a must coming out of high school, but those are the kids who are going to play early. These college coaches don't have time to just teach like they used to, because the amount of time they get to win is practically nothing. Year one, you may get a little bit of a reprieve. After that, it's over. If you bomb year two, you're done. So it's about developmental pieces coming in addition to the elite kid. If you're going to bring a developmental piece, it's pretty much got to be the second guy. You need an impact player pretty much every position because people's realistic expectations don't exist. They aren't realistic. That's just the way it is with administrators. So I don't know what to tell you there. I get what Katie's saying about hands and height and all that. Give me the burner that can score over the top and the guy that can understand where and when to settle down. Like Jamarin's a great example of that too. He's the more polished version of Maddox Porter. It's the same player, but the slightly smaller, but he makes plays all over the field. Jamarin Simmons is the prototypical guy that I would look for. To put him anywhere, but he's going to figure it out, whether it's zone, whether it's man, whether it's press, whether it's press bail, whatever. He figures it out in the play. He's got football savvy, and it's such an important factor. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the recruiting classes. I need to get your opinions, not just on are you surprised or are you not surprised, but which schools do you think will probably end up kind of taking that next step? Miami's one I'm going to talk about, and I know Katie will have a comment about Mario Cristobal with that. But there are a couple other schools that I'm curious about, Texas Tech, Indiana, etc. I want to dive into that a little bit. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood Prediction Markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Prediction Markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now you can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered future commission merchant and swap firm. Recruiting for the class of 2027 is in full grind. Classes are already, for some schools like Oklahoma, into the teens. It's pretty impressive. I want to talk a little bit about Oklahoma and just use them as a barometer. Ohio State, Louisville, Notre Dame, Nebraska. There are several schools that are doing pretty well early, but I have to admit I'm curious about a few schools. Indiana and Texas Tech, kind of new schools to the top of the board of the college football world. I want your opinions, whether you're listening to this live or you have something down the road. Maybe you think about this 2 days, 3 days, 4 days from now, whatever it is, come back on the YouTube page and give a comment. Why do you think what you do about any school, Georgia, Florida, you name it, it's up to you. So here are a few things that I want to talk about. I mentioned this, I think a week or so ago. Oklahoma's got 13 players in the boat. I mean, that's pretty impressive. They're also lucky this year. It's an up year, big time, for the class of 2027 in-state. They got not one, but two really good offensive tackles that are inside the state of Oklahoma. Caden Penny and Cooper Packett have both committed to the Sooners. They're both long and athletic kids that could absolutely end up being not just good at the college level. Like Caden Penny might be a 5-star guy. According to 24/7, he will be. He's number 13 player overall. They got Taven Epps out of California, a pass rusher / linebacker. Maybe he could play tight end, H-back. He's a really good player all around. They've got some pretty good players on the edge in their last class, but they're getting Crew Jones, who I think is the best pure pass rusher in. This next class just as a pure speed rusher. He's out of Orem, Utah. I love him. 230 pounds. And Cruz, absolutely great guy to be around. He loves playing the game. I think he picked a great program for him. Long and lean kid that just understands what it's like to get around the edge. A guy that's a little underrated, in my opinion, out of Inglewood, California, is Elijah Harmon. I think he's one of the best interior D linemen in the country. Really good player. They've got Keldron Ben, a running back that they're trying to hold off a whole bunch of people. Notre Dame just offered him out of Montgomery, Texas. That's just north of Houston. He's a compact runner, really strong and athletic. Devin Robertson, another kid that a ton of schools wanted. He's out of Oak Grove, one of the best programs in the South. That's a pretty impressive get, a 330-pounder out of Mississippi that OU's already got. Jackson Stokes is a running back out of Sierra Canyon, another great program out in the state of California. They even got Trayvon Hall out of Central High School in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama's at, a wide receiver. It's a great start for the Oklahoma Sooners. And before I go any further, just because they got 13 commits already doesn't mean Oklahoma's just going to slack off here. They're throwing around some money, and they got after it early. Their GM, their recruiting staff, they did a great job. And, yeah, they hit on some young guys in state that probably just wanted to be Sooners. But they got California players. They got Texas players. They're hitting some really good stride right now. A&M's got a similar kind of deal to Oklahoma. Obviously, they recruit a lot of the same players. But Braylon Henry out of Maryland is committed to them. They got Jace Johnson, their quarterback out of Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia. That's a kid that I saw last year at the Rivals Atlanta camp. He's got a big arm. He's pretty darn accurate. Big kid, 6'3", 6'4", 210 pounds, I would guess. If I had to get maybe 215, somewhere around there. But he's a South Georgia kid that's been around it his whole life. And then they just got kids from all over the place. Kamari Dorsey, maybe the best safety in this class. He's just outside of Atlanta. I imagine that he'll end up signing with them. I heard they gave him enough that he wouldn't take visits, but we'll have to see. Really good player, though. Elijah Patman, that's a kid out of another Georgia kid. Big interior defensive lineman at Northside High School, and Warner Robbins committed early to them. Aggies are killing it. And I'll tell you what, Mike Elko is one of the better recruiters in the country, and he still doesn't get a lot of love for that. I don't know why that is, but it's pretty impressive. I want to jump down a little bit. Nebraska came out with 6 commits already. This one's a little bit surprising. Then you think about who I saw this weekend. Somebody I didn't talk about because he's been committed for so long, but Trey Taylor, to me, he is a 5-star quarterback. He's transferred to Millard South. He was in the greater Chicagoland area. You got a guy like that committed to your class, it is going to help you quite a bit. And Tavius Ellis out of Crowley, Texas, is going to play for the Huskers. Torrey Pittman III, kid out of Omaha Central. That's a program that's been good forever. He's going to be going to Nebraska. They've also got Amir Brown, one of my favorite. He may be, in my opinion, as good a running back all around as there is in this class. He's from the greater central part of the state where they got all the big three. It's Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, of course, NC State, Duke, and North Carolina. He's going out to Nebraska. They even got Matt Erickson. They got another kid from the greater Omaha area, 6'8" offensive lineman. You're used to seeing that with them. And they also got Jaden Travers out of St. Francis out in Baltimore, a big defensive lineman. So Huskers are starting good. They got to start recruiting like this every year, though, or it's not really going to matter. Louisville, this one was a little bit surprising. They've gotten some commitments early. They got a couple of kids kind of close by. Alan Evans is one of them, a corner that's a long kid that's really athletic. D'Angelo White, a kid from Cleveland. That's at least somewhat in their area. 6'6", 245, a big tight end. They got a kid out of Indiana I'd heard quite a bit about, but he plays at a smaller school, Jack Sorgi. He plays at Tri-West. It's not that far from Indianapolis, but it's small school football. I'm curious about him. Of course, that coaching staff over there, they've done a really good job with quarterbacks. Cornelius Timms, a kid out of South Fort Myers, defensive lineman. He's a big guy, 6'4", 285. They always find kids in Florida. I don't know what it is about Louisville, but it's been pretty impressive for quite a while. They also got Sebastian Blue, a kid out of Trinity, maybe the most tradition-rich program in that city, another defensive lineman. Notre Dame, they're off to a pretty good start as well. They've gotten 7 commitments, and the Fighting Irish, Marcus Freeman's had it going for quite a while. But this class I like a lot because it's got some balance. But I had a chance to see Xavier Hassan again this weekend. He plays with 24K. They finished runner-up to Cam Newton's squad at the Sevens tournament. Xavier is very physical. He is a guy that has the athleticism to run with anybody, but he plays just as well forward as he does going back. And when you've got physicality, that means eventually when you play real football, screen game and run game, you can do things just like you can in bump and run coverage. You got to use your physicality across the board. Run game and screen game are just as important in being in coverage and getting a guy off his route. Ace Alston, another kid that they really liked. They got him early. He's from Anderson High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's a big-time player. I love his film. James Halter, he's one of the best offensive linemen in the class of 27. I don't know if he'll play guard or tackle. I really don't care. He's out of Central Catholic. It's a really good program in Pittsburgh. Amari Irvin, one of the biggest hitters in the class of 27, IMG Academy linebacker. He's probably 5'11", but I don't care. He's just a thumper. Richie Flanagan, defensive lineman / offensive lineman. His dad, Jim Flanagan, played it with the Irish in the early 90s. Khalil Terry, one of the best safeties in the class. He's a kid out of Tustin, California. Really good. And they even got their long snapper, Sean Kraft, a kid out of North Carolina already as well. Notre Dame will have a top 10 class. The only question is, how many will they take? Because they don't have as much attrition as a lot of other schools. If you're curious about some of the other big names, Georgia and Texas are up there. We'll see LSU, I imagine, soon. I know they got a couple of junior days coming up. Notre Dame's got a big one coming up in March. But there are a lot of schools that I'm still curious about. Like Texas Tech has 4 commits. It's early. But is this the year that Tech takes that step forward? Because they've got not only Jalen Brewster committed, they got Kavion Bryant committed. In my opinion, those are 2 of the top 10 players in the country. Some other people got them ranked a little lower. I think they're both top 10 national talents. I don't know if they'll both stick or if one will stick or whatever. I know Brewster's a little shaky because the D-line coach has changed. But that's a great start to your class. They also got Keadrian Redmond, a kid out of DeSoto High School, defensive line, another D tackle that's a big bruiser. And they got Benny Easter out of Summer Creek down in Humble, Texas, which is basically in the Houston area, a big receiver at 6'2", 190. Is this the year for Tech? Are they going to take that step forward? Well, sure, they're going to use the transfer portal, but they don't have to as much long-term. The better you do in high school, the less you have to mess around with the portal 2-3 years from now. I think they will, because they not only made the playoff, they're a team that dominated quite a bit in games last year. They were impressive, and I think that's going to help them kind of take that next step. An interesting team is Clemson. They've got 5 commitments, but this is a really important class for them. If the Tigers want to get back on track, they've got to hit at quarterback. They've got to make sure that they get better offensive and defensive line play in a consistent manner. I'm curious to see what happens. They got Trey Wembley already committed, local receiver that lives right down the road from them, 6 foot, 175 pounds. He's super athletic. That's a kid that's probably going to play pretty early for them. Max Brown, his brother, obviously, is the one that's already playing for him. You knew he was going to go there. Really good player. Kareem Muley's the quarterback they took. I'm not sure if he's going to be that guy, but some people like him more than I do. I just don't like his size for what he does. He's more of a pocket guy for what I've seen. I'm curious how much he'll run around. I know he can run RPO, but if he's going to be the next one for them, so be it. But they took him early, so they needed him to hit. Harrison Luke's a kid I need to see more of. That's a curious pick for me because he plays at North Oconee. I don't know much about him, but the program's great, and it's quite honestly not that far from them, and it's right outside of Athens. I'm surprised that UGA is not involved there, or maybe they still are. And finally, Christian Chancellor Jr., another kid out of Daniel High School right down the road from, not the biggest guy, but he's local. They probably know a lot about him. So Clemson hasn't changed their recruiting style. I'm curious if they can take that next step, though, because they need some linemen to really kind of move the boat. Finally, the school I want to mention is Indiana. They're number 17 on the 24/7 rankings. They got 5 guys already in the boat. That's pretty impressive because especially with their recruiting class, they've already got a few guys that they wouldn't normally get. First off, Monsana Torbert Jr., a kid out of Princeton High School. He's a corner. He's not a big guy. But after what they just had, I mean, D'Angelo Pons was, what did he do? Vertical was 43 at the combine or whatever it was. I'd imagine that smaller corners are interested in Indiana. Torbert Jr. is really good. He's one of those kids that could have went a lot of places, but he went ahead and picked him. Jamison Purcell, he picked Indiana pretty early. That was last year. He looks pretty smart now. Garyon Hobbs, this kid I love. I think he needs to go up in the rankings. He's a guy that's very athletic, a safety. He could probably play other spots. Out of Louisville, they got him to commit, and they also got Jahid Brown, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, an athlete / wide receiver, same school, Christian Academy of Louisville. They're dipping into some of their, let's just say, enemy territory. Jeremiah Jones, at Michigan City kid, offensive tackle, also committed to the Hoosiers. So for you out there, who do you think should be the one that takes the step forward based on the last couple of years, gaining exposure? Indiana, Texas Tech are pretty easy. Is there anybody else? I think BYU might. They have obvious religious affiliation and all that, but could they take a step forward? Possibly. Who else and why? I think Ole Miss will definitely take a step forward. Virginia Tech, James Franklin can recruit. I think that he will be very, very good. Penn State will be interesting. Hopefully they can get away from what they had to do this year. They had to go portal. But if they could take 30 kids this year, 32 kids this year, they'll probably not be a portal team near as much after this season. And then 2 years from now, it'll be pretty minuscule. Trying to think if there's anyone. Cal might be somebody to watch, by the way. I forgot about that. That's one to watch. Their coaching staff coming down. There are some recruiters on there, including the head coach. Don't discount Cal, not just getting some good guys, beating an Oregon, beating a USC, beating a Texas Tech. I don't care if it's a Florida kid, a kid from Oregon. I don't care if it's a kid from Seattle, Phoenix, Dallas. Cal's going to be involved with a lot of different people, especially with JKS throwing it around this season, that they may sneak out and get a few kids to flip a little bit later on. Let's see what else we got here in the chat. Katie. Amon Richards was a third-team receiver until he aced a 30-question impromptu playbook quiz Mark Richt gave him in the training room. That afternoon, he ran with the ones. Loved that story from Amon. That's how it works, man. If you know the playbook, it matters. If you run the wrong route, you're worthless. Katie. Clemson bringing back Chad Morris as offensive coordinator will make a huge difference. It should, but who's the quarterback going to be? That is my question about the Clemson Tigers. I think they have a bunch of talented players, but what's the mix? And are they going to be better up front? Like their offensive line had seniors and fifth-year seniors all over the place. They were just sort of good. They lost a lot of guys. The running back room is weird. They had a receiver transferred over to running back to make it work last year. They're going to have enough depth there. Obviously, again, quarterback's questionable. They lost some talent on the D-line that you can't just replace with one player. Peter Woods, that's a guy, just as one example. What's Clemson going to be this next year? If they're above 8-4, I think I'd be surprised. I don't have any faith in what's going on in that program right now. It seems pretty average to me. Thank you, folks, very much for checking out the Portal Podcast. As always, it's a blast doing this. I really, really love it. Thank you very much. We will see you again soon right here on the Portal Podcast.